Hello students, in this video I will show you how to use Excel for the first time if this is your first time using Excel. So the first thing I did was to type Excel, so I opened a blank workbook and now I have this. The first thing I want you to notice is we have some boxes here. Each box is called a cell and each cell has a unique name. So if you click on the cell, you'll see the name of the cell right here. The name depends on the position of the cell. So this cell is located in column B, row number 3. So that's why it's called B3. You can type in these cells. So if you just type, it's going to treat anything you write as a text. You can also operate in these cells or create some operations. You can add, subtract, divide, multiply. You can do even more complex operations, math operations, using functions. So let's do a simple operation. If you want to do a simple operation, you need to start with the equal sign. So each time you want to compute, you will need to use the equal sign. Let's say 14 plus 15, and then hit enter. As soon as you hit enter, it's going to do the math. Now, if I didn't include the equal sign, let me go back to the cell and then notice how I can edit the cell from this bar right here, which is called the function bar. So I'm just going to go right here and delete the equal sign and then click enter. Notice how it treated it as a text right now. But if I wanted to do the math, I just say equal and then click enter and it will do the math for me. I can do subtraction, I can do multiplication. Multiplication would be something like 13 and then times, you're going to use the asterisk. 16 equals 208. So that is the operation, and I use the asterisk for multiplication. You can use the slash for division. Let's say we want to divide 49 divided by 7. So you see here I typed equal to 49 divided by 7, and that is going to give me the 7. Notice there is a difference between the backslash, right? 14 divided by, let's do the backslash, 2. It's just going to tell me that I have a problem because this is not a division sign. I have to fix it. 14, I should use this one, the /2. Okay. Now, this is if I wanted to do some simple operations in one single cell. Let's say we have a column of numbers or a row of numbers, and we need to add these numbers together, or we need to multiply them together, or something of that sort. So let me just type some numbers. And here's another column. So I'm just going to make it distinguished by highlighting it, just to make it different from the rest of these. So let me even let these borders show. I'm going to type other random numbers. Okay. So let's say I wanted to multiply this number 2 by number 5. And I wanted to multiply 3 by 6, and I multiply 5 by 8, and I wanted the answer to be in this column right here, which is I'm going to color yellow just for you to see. Okay, let's say that's what I want to do. I just want to multiply 2 times 5, and I want to repeat this operation for those 2 columns, meaning I need to go down and multiply 3 times 6 and put the answer here. I can make Excel work for me. The way to do it is I'm going to perform the operation of the first row as follows. I'm going to say equals. I want to multiply 5 times 2. So I'm going to click on the cell that has 5 and the cell that has 2, and then I'm going to click enter. The reason why I clicked on the cell and I did not type 5 and 2, because I wanted just to copy down this formula. So when I copy down the formula, Excel automatically, since the formula, let's say I'm going to copy it to the second cell. So I copied it to the second cell, which means if I double click here, Excel took the cell that has 6 and multiplied it with the cell that has 3. Meaning when the formula went down one row, everything went down one row. And this is a nice property in Excel. It makes us do the work a lot faster than we usually do. So the way to copy down the formula, you have several options. The first option is you go to the cell that has the formula you want to copy down, and then hover over the corner, the right bottom corner of the box until your mouse changes color from this plus sign to the dark plus sign, and then you can double click. Okay, like that. Or instead of double clicking, you can basically hold the left key on your mouse down and then drag down, and this way you're going to copy the formula as well. Notice how all of these numbers are accurate, so Excel did most of the work for me. So this is a useful method. Another method that you can actually follow is by creating a table. So you say, okay, so I want to multiply both of these and put the answer here, and I want to repeat it in this entire place. So you select everything. The way to select, you're going to put your mouse in the middle of one cell, hold the left key on your mouse, and then select, move it, move the selection, and when you're done, just let go of everything. Now, we need to insert a table. The reason why we insert a table, because tables just copy down the equations you're using without you asking it. So to do that, highlight the area you want to turn into a table, insert, and then table, just regular table. Or alternatively, you can use the suggested shortcut, which is Control-T. So insert table. This is going to ask you, you want to create a table here in this area? You say yes, okay. And now you have a table. Now, I said that the first row was just labels, and that's why it took the first row and turned it into labels. Now I'm going to make the same computation. Let me say this time I want to take 5 and multiply it by 2. So I'm just going to click on 5, and then I'm going to say times 2. You see here it says column 2 times column 1, and then you click enter. So that's exactly what it does. It multiplies column 1 with column 2 and puts the answer in column 3 where you put it initially. So that is one of the nicest properties of Excel that we will be using a lot. I call this method populating down. You can use the table for you to populate automatically, or you can basically populate by yourself. Okay? Sometimes we need this data to be sorted. So we to sort data from smallest to greatest or greatest to smallest, we select the data we want to sort, and then we can, since this is in a table, we can actually click on the column here, and it's going to ask us if we want to sort at the very top. So we can just sort from smallest to greatest. But let's say you didn't create a table yet. Select the data you want to sort, go to the Data tab, and then go to the Sort function right here, and click A to Z, sort smallest to largest. And what that does, it's going to sort your numbers from smallest to greatest, and its corresponding columns. So it's going to sort all of the corresponding columns related to it. Let me sort it from greatest to smallest. So again, on the Data tab right here, I'm going to sort from greatest to smallest using Z to A. Notice what's going to happen here. Everything is sorted, including column 1 and 2, because it follows the same pattern. It doesn't want 9 to be put here, but the wrong answer here, so it sorts everything together. If you sort one column, this column is going to be sorted, but the rest of the columns are going to follow the pattern. So 9 was at the very bottom, multiplied by 2. It came at the very top, and 2 followed it, and 18 followed it. So it doesn't create mistakes. which is a nice thing also about Excel. Let's say we want to create, we want to add all of the numbers here. Instead of saying equals 9 plus 8 plus 6 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2, we can use functions now to make our life easier. So let's say I want to add the column, the first column, column 1. I'm going to go under that. It doesn't have to be under, but if you go under that column, it just makes more sense. And you can just type the function. And since this function is going to return a value, I'm going to say equals, and the function is sum. It's going to give you a suggestion. So you're just going to sum, double click sum, and then select the numbers you want to add together and click enter. What this does, it gives you more functions at the bottom if you want to create more functions. If you want to find, let's say, the maximum, you can. If you want to find the average of these numbers, you can. So let's say I didn't want the sum and I wanted the average. So I just click average and that changes automatically to average. If I want to find, let's say, the maximum of these numbers, I just click maximum and it shows me the maximum. If I wanted to do the standard deviation, I just do std deviation, and that is going to give me the standard deviation. Let's say I just wanted to count how many numbers are there. So I count them. I have 6 numbers in here, and etc. Or if I wanted the sum, I just click here and say sum, and that will make the sum for me. Notice how these will have these columns. Once you type the sum here, these will have the same properties. So you can do the sum for the second column. You can find the average for the third column. You can play with this as much as you want, but this is one of the properties that we're going to use a lot in this course. So that is adding, finding the average, finding the other functions. We have plenty of functions that we can use on Excel. In this course, we just need few of them, not a lot of them. The most common ones that we will be using are the sum function, the square root function. The square root function, to recall it, you can either click on the function button right here, and it's going to show you all of the functions available by category. So if I want all of the math functions, then it's going to give me all of the math functions available. And one of them is going to be the square root. So if you type S and then scroll all the way down, you're going to find the square root, which is this function right here. So how do we recall the functions? We type equals and then type the few first letters of the function. Square root is SQRT. So it will give us some suggestions. I know that the square root is the first one, and it tells you returns the square root of the number. So it explains that to you as well. Double click it. Let's say we want to find the square root of 125, and that is the square root of the number 125. Let's say I just made a mistake and I want just to find the square root of 5 and I want to fix it. How do I do that? I go to the formula bar and then I just put the mouse in there and delete the 1 and click enter, and that's going to fix my function. Which leads me to the idea of copying down your formulas and then changing the formulas instead. So let's say I wanted to find all of the square roots of certain numbers. So I can just copy this formula down and then go ahead and change the numbers that I want to change, and then go to the next one and change the number if I want to change. So this is one way that you can utilize the copying mechanism on Excel, and etc. Usually, if you have a question on here, on your homework, you can always copy these data and you can always put them on an Excel sheet. So if you don't want to work on the sheet anymore, you can add a sheet at the bottom by pressing on the X, on the plus button, and then you can just paste your data right here. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Let's say I pasted my data here and I want to analyze this data somehow. So maybe the question is asking me to create a group frequency distribution table. So I know to find the group frequency distribution table, first I have to find the minimum, I have to find the maximum, and I have to find the range of my data. So what I can do, I can compute these individually. Equals minimum. The minimum is the function min. So we're going to say equals minimum. You see here when I type minimum, it treated it as a text, but now when I put an equal sign, it is treating it as a function. Minimum, double click the minimum, and now it's asking where is number 1, number 2, number 3. I'm just going to select my data. Again, I put my mouse in the middle. I don't put it in the corner. I put it in the middle and then hold the key down, the left key on my mouse, and then select. Then you can click enter. So I know my minimum number is going to be 437. Now I'm going to find the maximum. I'm going to use max equals max. Double click and then select my data and click enter. I know that the range is maximum minus minimum. So I'm just going to say I need to say this number minus that number. So equals, I'm going to click on the maximum number minus and then click on the minimum number, and that is going to give me 91. Okay, so my range is 91. Now, if I want to do the rest of the operations, which is basically I want to find the class width. So I know that the class width is equal to the minimum divided by the range divided by the number of classes. Let's say for this one, I choose the classes to be 10. I'm going to follow the question. So the question actually suggests that I have 10 classes. So that's what I did. I divided the range by 10, and that is going to give me 9.1. Now I'm going to round this number to a nice number, which is a nice number means it's maybe a multiple of 10 or a multiple of 5. A multiple of 10 is good here because the numbers are big. So I'm just going to say the class width is going to be 10. Now, in order to find the lower limit of the first class, I do this operation. I go equals, let me do it right here, equals, I will take my minimum and I will divide it by the class width, which is in this case 10. So I get this number. Now I need to cut this number, meaning cut off this number, meaning I need to eliminate all of the decimal numbers. So just, I'm going to say floor it. It's going to be 43. Now this is what I need. I'm going to take this number from this step and I'm going to go to step 2, which is finding the lower class limit of the first class. You take the number resulting from step 1 and you multiply that with the class width, which is 10. So you get 430 as an answer, and that will be your lowest class limit. Let me create the table here. So I want to create lower class limit, upper class limit, and a frequency, and I want 10 classes. So this space should be enough for a table. I'm going to say Control T to create a table and then enter. The first column is going to be the lower class limit. The second column is going to be the upper class limit, and this is going to be the frequency. So I'm just going to save. Now, I don't see the entire word here, so I can just make this cell bigger. What I do, I go between E and F, the letters E and F at the very top, and then put the mouse in there. When it changes into this shape, I just hold my mouse, the left key on my mouse down, and then drag it to the side, and now I can see better. I'm going to put the first number, which is the LCL that I computed in here, 430. Now I want Excel to find all of the lower class limits. So to find all of the lower class limits, I'm going to say this is equal to the previous class limit. Take the previous cell and add the class width to it, which is 10. in my case. Now, the reason why I clicked on 430, because I want Excel, as I copy the formula down, to take the previous cell and add 10 to it each time. So when I go to the cell that has the formula, which is here, I can see that it has the formula. When I go to this cell that has the formula and I want to copy it down, I'm going to drag it down or just double click. You will see that each number took the number previous and added 10 to it. And that's exactly what I wanted Excel to do. Now I want Excel to compute the upper class limit. The upper class limit is equal to, we take the second class, the lower class of the second, the lower class limit of the second class, and we subtract 1 unit. And in this case, 1 unit is going to be 1. So I'm just going to say -1 and click enter. Notice how this table just did most of the work for me, all of the work for me. Now I noticed that I did that correctly because the last number is slightly bigger than the maximum, and I have 10 classes here, so I'm good to go. Let me show you how I usually type consecutive numbers. So I start by 1, 2, 3, but then I want Excel to do most of the work for me. So what I do, I put my mouse in the middle of the first cell and then hold the left key and drag it down as if I am selecting. And then I take the corner and then I hold the left key on the mouse and drag down. And as I drag, I see a number next to it. I'm going to stop when it's 11 because I need the 11th class to create the 10th class. So I have 11 rows here. That is how I create consecutive numbers without the need to. I can even go more, can drag it even more until I'm satisfied with the numbers that I have. This is going to be useful in the future for you. Now to find the frequencies. We're going to use functions to find the frequencies, but sometimes it's just easier to use the tools that we have on Excel. So one of the tools that we can use in this case is what we call the data analysis tool. It's going to compute the frequencies easier for us. For it to work, we need bins, and the bins is basically the upper class limit. The upper class limit is going to be your bins. And notice how these bins are basically formulas, so it's not going to function that way. I need to do something about it. So what I will do, I will just highlight my data and I'm going to copy it, Control C. I will go somewhere, or I can just paste it in the same place. But I will go here. I will put my mouse in here. I'm going to click on one empty cell, and then I'm going to right click on the mouse and I will choose paste as values. The difference between these values and these values, these are numbers. If you click on them, you see this is a number, and these are formulas. If you click on one of them, you see a formula here. So I'm just going to say this is my bins, just to distinguish them. Now I'm going to go to the data tab, and I have the data analysis tool. What do you do if you don't have it? You go to File, you go to Options, and then Add-ins, and then you go, and then you check the first box. You can check the second box as well, but the first box is enough, and then you click OK. That should make the data analysis appear when you click on the Data tab. Now I'm on the Data tab, not the Home tab. I'm in the Data tab. I go to the Data Analysis tool and double click it. I want to create frequencies, which means I need to create histograms. So I'm going to click on histogram. I'm going to click OK. The first box, I'm going to put the mouse here. It says input range. What is the input range? It's my raw data. This is the data that I collected from the question. The bin range is my bins. So I'm just going to select all of the bins here. And then I should click this button and put the mouse in here and select any empty cell. The reason why we do that is because we need the answer to be on this sheet, not jump to a different sheet. The last step is to check the last box and then click OK. What this does, it's going to create the frequencies for you. So I'm just going to copy these frequencies and I can just paste them right here. And then, okay, see, I see this first frequency is not accurate. I should delete it actually. And that will leave me with all of these. Okay, so you just copy and paste it, and there we go. And it's also going to create a histogram for me. Notice this histogram is not quite the histogram we usually look at. The bars are not touching, so how do we make them touch? We just double click on the bars until all of them are highlighted, and then this box should appear on the right side of the sheet. And I should be on the histogram shape here. You see the gap width. You're going to close it by making it 0%. And then notice if I click away, these bars are not distinguished from one another. It looks like one big blob. So I'm just going to double click again and go to the bucket this time and go to the border and change the color of the border to a darker color or a lighter color. Up to you. I'm going to choose a nice contrasting color here and click away. Now this histogram doesn't display bins at the bottom. It doesn't show you the classes, but it shows you the upper class limit only. So you can figure the lower class limit if you know the class width. You can find the class width by subtracting two consecutive numbers. So 449 minus 439 equals 10, which means the class width is 10. So this is how you're going to use the data analysis tool, and hopefully this was a good start for you to practice with Excel. The rest of the work on Excel is mostly you are using functions, so you will be using equals and some function, let's say average. So to recall the average, say average, and it's going to suggest something. You double click on the one that you want and then select your data, and that should compute the average for you. Let's say you want to compute maybe the standard deviation. We have two types of standard deviation. We have standard deviation .p for the population, and we have standard deviation .s for the sample. Let's say this is a sample, so we're going to use the second one, and we're going to compute the standard deviation that way, and etc. So most of the time we will be using these functions in this manner. Those are the basics that you need for Excel. The rest is just practicing how to use the formulas and how to use the functions that are already available on Excel. I hope this video helped you getting started on Excel and boost your confidence in using Excel. This is the tool we're using in this class, and you will be able to use this during a test. In fact, you won't be able to finish probably your exam without the use of Excel. If you do have any questions or still shaky about the use of Excel, just let me know, and I will do my best to arrange some time and sit with you and walk you through the basic steps of Excel until you feel more confident using this software. You can download Excel for free from your student portal. When you log in, you just use, in order to verify your copy, you need to log in using your CCD email, and you need to use CCD Connect password with it. So your email and password from the school should be enough to use the copy that you have on your computer. All right, so that's it for today. If you do have any questions, please email me. Thank you.